Hey everybody, this is Kevin from Fort Orange Woodworking, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make a miniature cutting board out of scrap wood that I have left over from another project. Now, making a cutting board is something of a rite of passage among woodworkers. You can find hundreds, if not maybe even thousands of videos on how to make a cutting board, but my focus today is going to show you how to make one using whatever you may have left over in the scrap bin. So what I've got today is I've got some Purple Heart, some northeastern maple, some Brazilian cherry, and some regular cherry. Now you may notice that these are all different thicknesses and widths. So the trick is going to be getting these down to a uniform size so that I can make this a usable, workable piece. Now this is going to be designed to fit inside one of my rustic looking pallet wood serving trays that I made in another video. So if you haven't seen that before, go ahead and check that out. Cool, easy project. And I'm going to make my cutting boards small enough to fit inside here, not so much for chopping, but more for like a miniature charcuterie board for the wine tray itself. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's head over to the table saw. Before we do so, please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So here's my yield. The thicker stuff on the end, the light stuff, is my maple. Then I've got my Brazilian cherry mixed in here, the darker browns. The kind of medium light brown is my regular cherry. And the purple is obviously my Purple Heart. So I can mix these up however I want. They don't have to be even numbers or anything like that. So I can just play with this for a little bit, see what I got. This is an end that's going to have to be jointed to get a nice smooth edge. Some of these aren't going to be ready to go yet. This one probably too. But for now, let's just see what we got for colors. And it looks like I might get 2 or 3 boards out of this. And if I want, I could even cut some of these smaller and do a couple of like racing stripes or auxiliary colors, if you will. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to get a little bit of color mix match in here. Maybe do one like that. I think that one's good. And then I'll cut a couple of strips, play around with this a little bit, see what I get for the rest of these. All right, so I'm going to join a couple of these. mix some colors around and see what I get. Okay, so after running these through the joiner, these are the patterns that I came up with. Nothing super fancy. I think the one on the top left is going to be the one that I use to include in this gift package with the wine tray. And the rest of them I'm just going to play with a little bit, see how they turn out after I glue them up. Maybe run a couple of them through the joiner, put some nice edges on them, maybe do a cross cut on one of these and flip them for an end grain pattern, see how that turns out. But for the most part, I came up with 4 of these mini boards with the scraps, and I'm going to go ahead and finish these up. The key to a good glue up with cutting boards is always going to be smooth faces. If you don't have smooth faces, you've really just wasted your time. It's not going to be worth it. Might as well start over. So once you have these smooth faces, everything else is going to be easy. Pretty simple. The only thing that holds a cutting board together is glue. So start on one end, brush, this is Tight Bond 3. It's a waterproof wood glue. Holds up a little bit better to cleaning and washing, although people really shouldn't be washing cutting boards per se. Just rinsing them, cleaning them, sanitizing them. But this is waterproof, so it gives it a little extra security. I like to butter both ends. Some people like to go in and score their boards. Take a knife and just do a hatching pattern here. Give it a little bit more surface to stick to for the glue. Sometimes I do that too, not always. But this is it. Just keep stacking them until they're all on top of each other. And then we'll move on to clamping. All right, so I have got my boards glued up and gave them a little hand squeeze here. Gonna move a couple of these out of the way. Got a couple of PVC racks that I got to elevate my boards so that it makes clamping a little bit easier. And normally I would use my my pipe clamps, but they're kind of big and I use those for my bigger glue ups. But for this one, because these are smaller, I'm just gonna use regular old woodworking clamps. Just gonna apply even pressure to both sides. Get out here on one. I'm not gonna over tighten yet. Gonna get alternating pressure. Gonna get closer to the end to remove any gaps that might be there. Then I might go get one right down the middle. And this is my good board that's going with the gift. So I'm gonna give a little bit of attention to this one. Tighten that up. I'm not over tightening, just so it's snug. Because you want the glue to work. If you over tighten, the glue won't work. Get my rag again, work on this glue squeeze. I could also scrape this out, but right now I'm just gonna wipe the glue off because I am gonna end up sanding these, maybe even planing them before I'm done. Check my tightness, give it a flip, work out my glue squeeze on the other side. And one thing you might notice as you do your flip is how level or unlevel your top side and your bottom side are. I can tell right now that I've got a little bit of edge here, but this is smooth, and a little bit of edge here, but this is smooth, which means that somewhere along the line, my board's not the same level of thickness. But it's not too bad over here. And because the grain's all facing one way, I could end up just running this through my planer, which honestly, I probably will. I would be a little cautious of that if I had different grains running in different directions, but these are all side grain going the same direction, so I'll be okay with running this through my planer. So this one's clamped up. I can set this aside and let it rest. Get my next one, same thing. Now for my bigger boards, I will typically take a smaller clamp and put a flat sacrifice board here with some wax paper on the top. Clamp down on both sides so that my board is flush on this side and that side. For these, because they're smaller, there's not going to be as much of a difference. So I'm just going to go ahead and just clamp these without taking those extra precautionary steps. Get that glue that's already starting to come out. Do the same on the other side. And another rag. Because you don't want to run glue through your planer. That's a good way to chip your expensive blades. And then one more right down the center. Nice and square. Let that glue do its trick. One more flip. One more glue check. And I'm going to finish up the other two. Let these dry. And show you what we do next. Alright, so we've had a chance to let the glue dry overnight. And there's definitely some height issues that need to be addressed with these cutting boards because I didn't clamp them down this way, only this way. So with that being said, I'm going to run these through the planer, which shouldn't be a problem because they're all going in the same grain direction. And the way that these guys turned out, I want to see how they look after going through the planer before I decide if I'm going to cross-cut these and make them end grain cutting boards or just leave them as they are. I might even plane these all down to the same thickness so that I can try to cross-cut them and maybe even mix up the pieces. So let's run these through the planer and see how it goes. So here's what I've finished up with the rest of these scrap woods. I've got two simple designs that I think I'm going to keep. This is going to be the one that I include with the gift. Needs a little sanding, and I think I've got like a little edge over here, so I can see a little gap there. I'm just going to cut that off so that the rest of this is flush, so that this doesn't separate later. And this one is two together, so I took two of the cutting boards, put them over on the cross-cut sled, and I cut them to equal thicknesses and widths. That way I could put them together, and I flipped them around until I found a pattern that I liked, and I'm just going to glue this up and make this one a larger serving tray slash end grain cutting board. So this is going to get one more trim. These are going to get a couple of, this one's going to get another glue up. These two are going to get a couple finishes on the joiner, and these will be all done. Okay, so we're on to the last step. Now, my end grain cutting board is currently drying because we just glued it up. So normally with my glue ups, I like to let them sit overnight so that the glue has a chance to bond and cure. So I'm not going to be able to show that right now, but I will show a still shot at the end of this video of the final product. However, what we are going to do right now with my lovely assistant is we're going to apply finishes to these two mini boards that are basically done. I have run these through the router, this one with a regular OG and this one with an OG and a double rounded curve just for a decorative effect. Truth be told, this was actually a mistake that I made. I got a little tear out at the end of my corners, so I rounded this over to fix the problem. I think it turned out awesome. I'm going to probably do this style again because I just like the way it looks. And we are going to finish these with two different treatment products. One of them is going to be regular old mineral oil, which my assistant is going to apply. And the other one on this one is going to be my non-proprietary Fort Orange Woodworking board butter. This is for sale on my Etsy shop. It has a lovely citrus scent to it. It's good, right? And it's totally food grade and 100% safe. So we're going to try two different methods to show you, and we're going to go ahead, change camera angles, and do that right now. All right, so here we go with the first one. The first one is going to be the Fort Orange board butter. Don't need a whole lot of this. This is essentially a beeswax and mineral oil combination with a little bit of citrus oil for the smell. Fort Orange, get it? Citrus. And that really is going to bring out the grain in this and make it look really cool. The added benefit of the beeswax over just the regular old mineral oil is that the beeswax will seep into this, into the tiny little pores of the grain, because even really dense hardwoods are going to have some sort of grain structure to them, and you want to protect those as best as possible. Keep the water from getting inside them. Always remember that with any cutting board, you got to treat them every once in a while. Shouldn't let them sit wet. That way they don't separate at the grooves and last a long time. So I'll do the bottom in a little bit, but for now, just show you that real quick. And that looks really cool. That turned out awesome. All right, so now my assistant is going to apply just mineral oil. We're going to slide this over a little bit. So this is just regular old food grade mineral oil. Go ahead and give that a dip.
Like that?
Yep. Squeeze it out a little bit. Good. Too much is not a problem though.
Okay. And then just rub it on.
Just rub it on. And look at that. Really brings out the grain feature. You can see a nice shine on that maple. Use a little more. Go ahead and hold it down in the middle. Good. Nice. And we'll do the bottom later, so just hold that up for the camera. Whoop. A little lower. Perfect. Look at that. One cutting board. And that is it. Two miniature cutting boards made 100% from scrap wood that we had left over from other projects. I also was able to get that end grain cutting board out of this project as well, which I'll show you at the very end in the still shots. I hope you like this video. This is a real simple project. There's lots of ways to make cutting boards. This is how I usually go about it. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. Check out that Etsy shop, Fort Orange Woodworks. Stay tuned for the... What are you talking about?
I said do it.
Do it. Do it. Fort Orange Woodworking. Check it out. Please like and subscribe. See you next time in the shop.